So this is shot number one, and it's at a 26 millimeter focal length for the smartphone that we're using. And I meant to mention that the first shot is either going to be 26 or 52 millimeter. So just as a point of reference. So this part right here is an introduction to the series, an introduction to this particular episode. And this episode really is going to talk about kind of pondering what would have happened if some of the great writers had worked retail. You know, retail is a phenomenal way of making a living, and nothing but respect for my colleagues that I worked with. Spent 16 years at a department store in Flemington, New Jersey. Really such fond memories. And so, but it is a bit of a grind. And I do wonder what great and classic writers, and the writers that we're going to use in the monologue at this point are going to be Ernest Hemingway and Louisa May Alcott. We're wondering if they had worked retail, how might some of their classic stories have been retitled, if not in fact retold. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. Now, my outline is then going to take me to the front part of the table. Now notice that this coffee cup is just halfway on and halfway out of frame. And this is a marker. And what I've done is I've set this up because I'm going to walk around here and I'm going to walk out of frame. But what this coffee cup does, it gives me a sense of where I am out of frame. So when I get completely beyond that, I'll stop filming, I'll move everything to the next shot. But when I'm in post, it will look much more seamless. So having said all that, oh, by the way, if everyone who had saw the first episode, it was called Explaining the Lanyard. I do have the lanyard. We're going to talk about that again in this particular part of the show. So the lanyard, what that meant, and then we're going to walk my outline. I forget what it is right now. I'll know it when I record this. But imagine I'm giving my outline and I'm going to walk out of frame. So now this is the second shot, and this is where we go from, you know, obviously the first shot, contemplating a couple of writers, Ernest Hemingway, and then Louisa May Alcott, and how retail might have impacted their, you know, if they had worked retail for 16 years in Flemington, New Jersey, how might that have impacted their writing? Well, the title of the episode is To Sauté or Not to Sauté. And, you know, that is an absolute shameless riff on William Shakespeare and one of the great lines from Hamlet. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with that too right now. We're going to go into detail on that. We're going to talk about Mr. Shakespeare, talk how Hamlet might have been somewhat written differently. Maybe some of the dialogue would have been written differently, but nonetheless, we're going to talk about that. Now, before I step out of frame, and just as I did here with the first shot, I'm going to go in this direction, stepping out of frame. I want to draw your attention to this tablet right here. This is what I'm going to be reading my story from. So everything you've seen thus far, I'm trying to learn those lines, to deliver them, you know, pretty much as you're seeing right now, perhaps a little bit more gracefully, but nonetheless, not reading from a script or anything like that. The piece that is the focus for this, I think I'm doing the service to the writing a little bit better to read from it, and I'll manage looking up into the camera, etc. But this will be here when the story starts. Now, when I get here, I'm going to take this with me, and one more time, I'm going to walk out of frame. So now this is shot number 3. And once I get settled into here, I will open up the tablet. I'll begin reading from that. It's probably 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes at the very most. We're going to close that over. And much like the first two shots, or similar to the first two shots, only in reverse. In this particular moment, I'm going to step out from behind here, get a little closer into the camera, and I'm going to invite who's ever watching to come back to the next episode. So that's the walkthrough. I hope you enjoy it. Hope it gives you a little bit of insight to how Studio D here in Flemington, New Jersey works. Actually, we're just up the road from Flemington, and give us some time to digest this and we'll put it online. So it's after midnight now. Take care. Hope everyone's well.